Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, whatever, Serge Live here and welcome to another Destiny video. Destiny vs the Division, who is the better real king of the online loot shooters, first person or third person? Gritty realism or technicolor space opera, tactical scope or magical longbow? Now that it's out, it's time to rake the Division over the comparison course and finally work out this wall. Is it better than Destiny? Thing once and for all, because come on Ubisoft, you put out an MMO shooter with a nearly single word title beginning with D, you know you were asking for this. For the sake of fairness, I will be running both games through the same comparison criteria, covering all of the major design elements they share, so no stacking the odds by asking which game has better hellspawn moon monsters. Where relevant, I will also reference the differing amounts of time both games have been out and any of Destiny's past transgressions that we've all forgotten about. Having reached the promised land of year 2, sound good? Then let's go! Shooting fundamentals. Destiny's core shooting is unsurpassed, the product of 15 years experience in making console FPS feel just right. It's turned up to perfection, the weight, the momentum, the weapon feedback, the sheer hefty smoothness of it all. Whatever activity you are partaking in, you can be sure that the moment-to-moment experience will feel great. That's arguably how Destiny managed to keep such a loyal fanbase during its first grind-heavy year, before the Taken King's change improved the overall game structure. The simple experience of playing it always took the edge off the slot machine nature of hitting level cap. And of course, Destiny's core system are malleable enough to support all manner of increasingly flamboyant weapon designs and action, large scale verticality and ludicrously cool guns that regularly do the impossible are no kind of a rarity. The Division, however, is deliberately a much more grounded experience. A solid, altogether more real-world cover shooter, it blends nicely readily modern military hardware with a pleasing sense of physicality in its player characters, and a satisfyingly blue cover system. It's much less ambitious in its scope too, which does ultimately lead to the action becoming rather samey after prolonged play. Regardless of upgrades and perks, the underplayed combat does lend a paranoid intimacy to the Division's face-offs, but it's worth nothing that the realism at times also leads to a disconnected in-gameplay believability. The resilient, bullet-sponge enemies of the stat-driven RPG shooter are a lot easier to accept when alien technology and space magic are involved. When you are repeatedly shooting a human terrorist in the face with an assault rifle, things feel a little off. Mission design. Neither game exactly excels in terms of groundbreaking level design. Both contain a whole lot of go here, do this thing, get the other thing and kill this stuff. But each has selling points of its own. Where Destiny launched with a too slim for comfort roster of missions, for instance, the Division is making no such mistake setting its action on an Assassin's Creed scale map of New York, absolutely teeming with things to do. Not only that, but there's the immense promise of involved discovery by way of numerous locked doors and lootable areas that require advanced contamination resistance to survive. It's all very well thought out. The lack of variety in the enemy lineup does tend to become quite apparent when partaking in the game's often 45 minutes missions proper. The action is always fun, if not frequently spectacular or surprising. By contrast, Destiny is designed with 30-minute drop-in, drop-out sessions very much in mind. All of its activities turn to deliver tangible progress and fun within short bursts of gameplay. Such quick gains are possible in the Division, admittedly, but the game's presentation doesn't make them anything like as accessible as in Bungie's more modular MMO. Destiny's standout missions don't really kick in until you hit the House of Wolves and Taken King content. Bungie's Halo era flair for pacing and variety makes an unmistakable resurgence at that point, but the vibrancy and flow of its environments and combat are engaging from there off. It's just that things in Destiny are more compartmentalized, its various different flavors of event linked by menus and loading screens rather than any true overworld. Story and world. What the Division lacks in spectacle is makes up for in layered grid and real-world fidelity. Its dystopian New York setting is beautifully rendered in a run-down, grotty kind of way. Tooth being resolutely realism-focused, snow-caked New York streets do have a tendency to blur into each other after a while. The setting is probably more exciting for those who have first-hand familiarity with the real city, but everyone else will likely crave more variety eventually. The Division story comes packing all the complexity and weight that we've become accustomed to in Ubisoft's modern Tom Clancy games. Its characters aren't overly memorable and largely assert their presence via radio chatter during missions. But there's something undeniably engaging about its overall setup, and there's no questioning that its narrative is certainly more direct than Destiny's often vague, broad strokes based opera. That said, there's a lot to be said for Destiny's approach too, since the Taken King's treatment of character has excelled, because if you have Nathan Fillion and Nolan North on the cast sheet, you don't waste them. The personalities of and relationships between its NPCs have exploded with a real sense of humanity and fun. Its world is a theme park of endless, otherworldly beauty with captivating visions and vistas waiting at every turn. It's just that the narrative line through those wondrous environments still isn't always as engaging as the plays themselves. Leveling and character progression. Continuing what's becoming a theme now, the difference between the two games' overall career paths currently seems one of intricacy versus immediacy. Destiny, on the one hand, has always been run with a philosophy of streamlining traditional MMO and RPG systems, stripping back character buffs to 3 main stats attached to armor, as well as a variety of weapon and armor specific perks focused most clearly around exotic gear. There are some clever builds to be had if you really want to dig deep into recent abilities. Combine, for instance, the Warlock's melee-powered overshield with the fast grenade cooldown of the Radiant Super and the melee-charging Monte Carlo rifle, and you have formidable tank, but that granularity is there to be discovered by the more dedicated, not pushed up front by the game itself. The Division presents a lot more options and a lot more stats. Between guns, attachments, laughing, perks and abilities, there are much more to manage, to the point that those not already versed in Destiny's ways might have to negotiate somewhat of a learning curve at first. Crack it tooth, and there's plenty to do, in particular the facility to concentrate on leveling certain fields of abilities by focusing on specific tailored quest lines. Wants to boost your medical support skills, then chase down the medical missions. Is a very welcome addition. Long term, the Division might reveal greater freedom of customization than Destiny, but don't be surprised if it takes a fair bit more work to harness. And of course, you will have to buy into a more grounded area of classes than Flying Space Wizards versus flame-wielding astronaut Thor. PvP options. Here's where the two games really differ. Destiny, you see, has an entire suite of traditional arena-based FPS modes covering the full and expected gamut of free-for-all, team and objective-driven match types. The Division, on the other hand currently has no traditional PvP play. Truth, it may well be coming as an update later on, preferring at the moment to explore the paranoid villainy of its dark zone. Ostensibly similar to the wider city at large, in truth, the DC is a heaven of potential skullduggery and betrayal, a closed-off section of the map that players have to choose to enter. It contains all enemies and high-value loot, what also allows players to ollie with or turn on stranger at will. The most devilish part, gear picked up in the dark zone can only be removed and secured via a highly visible airlift, meaning that any bid for escape and profit is mentally advertised to every burgeoning fiend in the area. Through inorganized manhunts for heavy offenders and the chance that any other player might just hold a special treasure key you so desperately need, and you have a constantly churning cauldron of distrust, malleable morality and truth-tightening tension that threatens to spill out into total carnage at any given moment. Destiny lacks this kind of organic PvP environment, but at the same time its multiplayer section is one of the most fun, varied and vibrant in the modern FPS landscape. Playing out like a supercharged, more aggressive Halo, it's an endless hot, especially if you play with a mic'd up, organized fire team. Online functionality. On the technical side of things, the Division has definitely had a better time of it than Destiny did during its early weeks. Truth, there are still some notable issues going around. More significantly, there's a strange relationship between fireteam matchmaking and mission locations. The drop-in, drop-out ideal is a little shaky at the moment, players finding themselves unable to disband an ad hoc team without being warped back to a safe house, potentially miles away, or even being thrown away from a mission area when trying to begin a co-op run near the start point. There's also the great queening trauma, but current thinking says that that's probably a bug rather than a design decision. Destiny at this point is running like a mostly well-oiled machine. Some still cry out for across-the-board co-op matchmaking. Banshee continues to hold out on automated teams up for raids, but on the whole there's little of real white to complain about. So what have we learned? Basically and disappointingly for those craving furious indignation that both games are good for different reasons and will probably best suit slightly different players. Of course, anyone who likes shooting and looting and has a predilection for chronic leveling edition is going to get on just fine with either option. But if you like your gaming more grounded, cohesive, satisfyingly involved and altogether of a more broad-foringly serious persuasion, then the Division is probably for you. Should you enjoy shooters more for the pure fun of their mechanic tough and not mind a little narrative roughness wrapped around a lot of highly varied, if segmented, bullet joy, then Destiny has a hell of a party just ready and waiting for you. So guys, this was my video. What do you think about this? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming Destiny videos. Have a good day. See you soon. Bye. Developer will host live streams every Wednesday from here until the updates launch.